A Marfoogle TV going live in 3, 2, 1. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We've got a lot to get into, so let's get right into it. Now, this is not something that we like doing, but we've shared a lot of the crazy stuff that we have found that China is releasing. If you, obviously, you've probably been around this show. We don't get too many new people, but my opinion is that China is getting ready to try to take #1 spot. And they've been releasing technology after technology, and I'm sure that there's going to be people that doubt this technology. But again, at the same time, all of these other stories that have come out with this crazy technology, our Pentagon has directly responded as if it is absolute fact. Like when they said that they now don't have to track our stealth planes because they have satellite technology that can actually track our F-22 stealth jets exhaust, right? If they have the exact signature of the exhaust, they can find our stealth jets, which basically make our stealth jets not stealth. They have technology that can communicate across oceans through different buoys. They have technology that would be able to find our carriers. They have technology that can do all sorts of stuff. And again, people can debate if those things are all real or if it's just the CCP claiming so. But if you actually look at the movement and the stuff that they've made recently, it is pretty crazy. They are absolutely focused on getting their country to par with the United States or into basically a category where they could team up with others and try to take us down a peg. Now, this is crazy because they're saying China's hypersonic weapon hits Mach 20 in 30 minutes, shattering global defenses with terrifying speed and precision. So Mach 20, just to put an idea to that, I mean, like, this could basically get anywhere in the world in less than 30 minutes. It may not be Domino's, and it may come free of charge, but nobody wants to see it actually arrive. Again, the hypersonic glide vehicles we've talked about before. There was actually a test a few years ago. We talked about a certain system that would actually launch. They actually tracked them launching a hypersonic missile or hypersonic object that then launched a secondary hypersonic object. And scientists actually said that this was physics bending, that this wasn't something that they've ever could even see happening. And they somehow did it. So this is something that's very, very, very creepy because it could be used as a weapon to essentially go around the bottom of the world and fractional or orbital bombardment system, essentially something that would bypass all of our security and our monitors by going around the world and going down beneath and then snapping and hitting us. Again, this was powered by speeds of Mach 15 to 20. These weapons dramatically reduce the time available for the defensive response. So if you can imagine, you only have a couple minutes already with stuff that we have. If you only have 2 minutes to decide if you're going to either shoot back or to knock this thing down or to even have a system that would be able to knock it down. That is something that they don't know if it's possible. We're going to talk about this and much, much more. In fact, there is a lot happening. 100,000 plus troops amassing. We're going to talk about that here in just a couple minutes. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, before we get into our next piece, remember you have a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document over on our website. Again, marfooglenews.com. You'll have all of your source list. Again, that bibliography is available for you, and it is archived. You can actually go up to the search bar at the top of the page and actually look up any of our previous shows 5 nights a week. We've been archiving all of the most important news for now 8 years. So you can go back and actually find any day, if there was a historical, event, we probably covered it. All right, let's bring in my co/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on? How are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugel fam. I'm doing just fine.
So Russia amassing 110,000 troops near Kiev, or one of the actual Ukrainian cities. Do you want to go over that?
Yeah, so apparently they have amassed 110,000 troops in the vicinity of Vosk. I'm sure I'm butchering that name, but it's part of an effort to take over the strategic eastern Ukrainian city, according to the Ukrainian military. And of course, this is coming out of CNN, but so take it all with a grain of salt. But nonetheless, Oleksandr Syrskyi said on Friday that the area around that location was the hottest spot along a 1,200 kilometer or 745 mile front line. So 100,000 plus troops, 110,000 troops is a significant force when you think about it. So Russian forces have been trying to capture Pokrovsk for almost a year, staging one grinding offensive after another. But despite having a clear advantage in terms of the numbers of troops and weapons available, Moscow has failed to take over the city. So maybe 110,000 troops will do it. I don't know.
I wonder if in the next week, if folks are going to wonder if this 110,000 troops aren't also, mobilized to possibly move on something else that they're doing. The last time that they had this many troops together, we talked about it was 160,000 troops before they did the invasion into Ukraine. Again, that was a practice. And then right as everybody started noticing it, they said, oh, psych, it's a drill. Exactly a year later, they actually moved in. And it was such a big deal, a big whoop about them going and then turning back the first time a year prior, that when they actually invaded, nobody really even thought it was true. They were like, nah, it's a special military operation. That piece of propaganda that they put out actually had a lot of people believing, like, did they really even invade? Or did they go in with a couple guys with guns? 110,000 troops is a lot. Some of the bigger stadiums are 50, 60,000. That's 2 football stadiums full of soldiers moving into an area. So that's a big deal. Heck, what we have like 12 or 13,000 down at the border right now. And I mean, or even less, possibly. I just think there's 8 to 12,000, something like that, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, because they are apparently making a DMZ, or a demilitarized zone, down at our border. If people aren't catching what I'm throwing here, I don't know what to say. They say it's all to secure the border. There's something massive going on. This big deportation thing, the priority that they're putting to it, it's not just his campaign promise. There's something bigger at play. And I'm telling you, my gut has told me this since years ago. And people have laughed at me, made fun of me for it. And I'm sure people have made fun of you too. Like, oh yeah, of all these people that are coming in are all going to, be organized and be the military. Well, there's video evidence of it. So I don't know. I think they are. But yeah, and I wonder if Russia is going to take a city. What if they do make a huge push? They have North Korea help, and they actually, start taking almost the whole country, right? Well, one thing I would have to say is, if you look at situations with like North Korea and South Korea, when they were almost down, North Korea had almost entire control of the Korean peninsula. They had South Korea pushed down to the very, very tip of the entire country back when it was just Korea. And that's when the Western forces stepped in and said, okay, well, we'll join you. And they pushed them back. And that halfway line, it went back and forth multiple times. And that was only because they had us on helping them. And North Korea had Russia and others helping them on that end. So I wonder if something like that will happen if Ukraine starts losing all of these billions and billions of dollars and all of the resources that are there. if they start getting, on their back legs or put in a corner, are we going to say we have to help out at this point? We have so much invested. Dex, let's talk about the Pentagon creates a 250-mile buffer zone at the Texas-Mexico border. Now, I said demilitarized zone, but there's been a few people that have called it that, but a buffer zone. So essentially a space where they can have a gap where if somebody runs across, they can see it. I mean, what is this for?
So on the 25th, they just announced, the U.S. Air Force, that a 250-mile stretch of the border along the Rio Grande in Texas, in what is Cameron and Hidalgo counties, is going to be designated an extension of Joint Base San Antonio. So the land was previously managed by the International Boundary and Water Commission, an agency overseeing the water sharing. The move is part of President Trump's broader strategy to allocate military resources to the border enforcement. If you remember back in April, they outlined the plans to establish these national defense areas, calling it a military mission for sealing the southern border of the United States and repelling invaders. That's the exact quote for it. So, yeah, they've been talking about this. They did one back in April. We talked about it then. It was in New Mexico. It was a 170-mile zone, the first national defense area designated in April, 170-mile zone in New Mexico attached to Fort Huacha in neighboring Arizona. The following month, the 63-mile section was set up in West Texas under Fort Bliss. So they're basically grabbing as much land that they can and extending bases or extending that land to the bases so they can then turn it into a militarized zone or a military base zone, which then provides the potential to have the military guard the land to prevent anybody from coming across the border.
Yeah, and the fact that they keep putting repelling invaders, they could have said repelling illegal immigrants. They could have said anything else, but they said repelling invaders. I've heard a couple of discussions and back and forth on X, that people say, oh, well, they're just meaning like, everybody that's coming in illegally is an invader. They're totally right. But if you look at what they're doing, they've got four U.S. destroyers down backing up the military mission of securing our southern border. I do not believe that this is all just, keeping people out that are, looking to get a free ride in the United States. I think that this is something bigger. I think that the most obvious thing is the real thing here. Dex, go ahead.
Well, just remember, as much as it's easy on one side of the spectrum here to look at it and say, well, it's great to have a wall, or, well, it's great to have our military control the entire border. That's, when you're looking at it specifically from an invader point of view, that sounds wonderful. But what happens when you flip it around and you ask yourself, if you are the one that needs to leave the country, will you be able to? And what does that mean in the future when this is created now, but maybe it's ran by someone else who has different opinions on what they want to do with the country, and you don't want to be here, and you may not be able to leave. Those same walls that keep people out can keep people in.
Yeah, that's a thought as well. They're saying combined with the new Texas stretch, the total area under National Defense Area designation now exceeds 480 miles. The Texas-Mexico border extends 1,254 miles, which is crazy how big Texas is. So, what do you guys think that this actually is? This is something that is very, very, very over the top. Now, some would say, well, yeah, they've almost completely stopped the illegals coming in. But that is his literal top priority. Well, why is it their top priority? Did they know something we don't? Well, there was these cartels. Was the cartel thing a secret op to make the American people so scared about the cartels and things and the people coming in that they were like, oh, yeah, put military in the United States, deploy them all over the borders and keep us in or to keep them out? Or is it seems to me what was obvious is they know. I think the president knows how many military members and secret agents got in here in the last 4 years. I think that they know who on the payroll was in our political system that got paid. And I think they know that they can't do anything because many of them probably got pardons. So I think something is going on. I think there is a third party, a country that is involved. I think it is, often associated with the color red, and it's not Russia. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what your opinion is. And then thank you guys. Thank you, Jeff B. Thank you, Jeff B., Stephanie Cook, Kat, God Soldier this week. Thank you for your support. Devin Backus, Milos Schaefer. We have Tamitka Crow, thank you so much. Stephen Click, Sweatin' Ministries, Inquiring Minds, Rapture Ready, Nacho Man Randy Sandwich, thank you. Carlton Sutton, Ilea, Steel Hauling DC, Alex Gallegos. Make sure to also thank your mods, which I also forgot to say, I think for the first time in like 6 years. Make sure to go support marfooglenews.com/friends. Essentially just support by going over and subscribing to our friends. These are the mods. They are all awesome creators, including Chance. He just put out another version of new version of his book. Again, so go check that out on Amazon. You can find that link right there on Chance Paladin's Amazon link right there next to his name. All right. Now, let's see here. We're going to talk about Denmark to tackle deepfakes by giving people copyright to their own features. Now, this one, I'm going to let Dex handle, but before we do, I do want to remind you, make sure to go check out EMP Shield, because with all of this craziness going on, again, I would highly recommend getting protection for your devices, your modems. Again, if you have a Starlink, get that protected. They now have a device for that. This is the same agency that's been protecting DHS, DOD, FBI, Air Force, all of these government agencies. And again, they're quietly preparing to protect themselves, but they're not exactly volunteering it to civilians. So if you want to protect your own car, if it's newer than 1980, it most likely will stop running in the case of either a Carrington level event from the sun or an EMP. This protects against both. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. Again, go check out their accolades. You can go see the Keystone military testing for this. Again, at marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. Rochelle Cooley, thank you for gifting out 5 badges to the Foogle fam. Thank you for using your support to actually support other Foogle fam. So that's really, really cool. Callie, and then Milos Schaefer says, thanks for the thanks. Well, of course, OHIO. All right, Dex, let's go over this next piece, which, again, deepfakes by giving people copyright to their own features. This reminds me of Mountainhead again. Seems like Mountainhead's going to be the predictive programming of the month.
A very interesting approach to the problem. So the Danish government is trying to clamp down on the creation and dissemination of AI-generated deepfakes by changing the copyright law to ensure that everybody there has the right to their own body, facial features, and voice. So that means you'll have that as your own copyright if you live in Denmark. So the Danish government said on Thursday it would strengthen protection against digital imitations of people's identities with what it believes to be the first law of its kind in Europe. Having secured a broad cross-party agreement, the Department of the Culture plans to submit a proposal to amend the current law for consultation before the summer recess and then submit the amendment in autumn. It defines a deepfake as a very realistic digital representation of a person, including their appearance and voice. So imagine that. Somebody wants to deepfake you. You can then go and do a copyright claim against them, file a lawsuit, win big money, whatever that may be. And if you live in Denmark and you have those rights. So that's what they're planning on changing this year. It's an interesting approach to solving some of the problems.
I think it would work.
It probably would.
Because if you think about it, if they want to do a fake human being that doesn't matter, like if it's not a president, nobody's going to listen to them. The fake person can say whatever. But if it is President Trump saying, we're going to go to war today, and we want everybody to stay in their homes and shelter in place. They haven't done that kind of video yet. But that is all of the videos, though. If you go on X, you'll see one of these posted almost every day. In fact, it's now become like a meme to make these videos, and they are deep fakes, but they are so indiscernible from reality. I mean, these things are absolutely, you just can't fathom that they're fake. Now, besides the words, now they also have AI programs that can also copy and clone voices It's kind of crazy that around the same time, right before we got access to real like AI, we got access to cloning voices. And now they can do a perfect job of anybody. I mean, you give them like, what was it, Dex? Like 3 sentences. Somebody could say like 3 sentences and it could clone your voice. It was what it was.
It wasn't much. It was very little, but yeah.
And
the more you gave it, the better. But yeah, you can get away with just sentences.
Well, Dex, have you seen some of these deepfakes with the president? And these are all comedic, right? They say something that's so outrageous, like he cusses or swears or calls somebody, mentally ill or something like that.
That's not outrageous now, is it?
Well, no, and that's the thing. And that's the thing. When you hear Donald say that guy's the R word or something and he's just kind of stupid, it's like, that's believable. But I've noticed that these videos, they go so extreme, probably because the creator of that video is scared about getting in trouble because they're doing a video of the freaking president at an actual conference and they're changing his words. So they say these like, super absurd or even in some cases racist things or, just all crazy stuff. So it's so over the top that it's satirical, right? But those same people have the access and the ability to make, the French president saying that, they've declared war. I mean, that's the crazy part about this is we are already at the point where it's indiscernible to a regular person. This, if they do it of me or somebody else, or if they do one of Dex could sue their ass. Trump could sue whoever made that deepfake. And I'm sure they're going to implement this into the deepfake software. That will probably be a whole new business. Dex, what do you think about? They'll have a whole new business of being able to access the deepfake software without having a fingerprint on it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, certainly. Well, the other thing is, as it relates to copyright law here in the U.S., and it's the same in Denmark, you can parody and satire, and you can, so you can use or break. You're not breaking copyright if you're doing something that's of those 2 formats, parody and satire.
But
so you could.
I don't think it's satire though. If you,
I'm not saying what you've seen is or is not satire, but I am saying that they even said in their rules and their law they're going to still allow parodies and satire against individuals' copyrights. And I would assume if we ever did that in the U.S., because we have that same rule for copyright.
I bet you in court they're going to have cases where they're going to play a video and have a jury go, yeah, that would never be a real video, right? He's saying this, this, and this, and this, and then he picks his nose and he flicks it or something. It's like, yeah, the president would never do that, right? Well, again, this is something where it's like it is an exact video of them. It is indiscernible from reality. So would it be slander? Like, what if he says, oh, I like this and this and that, and saying I like this and this and that, then people that believe that video say, I hate this guy and, I want to take this guy out or something. So I don't know. This is going to be a very complicated thing in the near future. I mean, we're talking about near future. It's already here. The here future. Oh, I like that. The here future. Dex, I'm on point tonight. The here future. And then we have
blown.
I need more sound effects. And then controversy erupts as scientists start to work to create artificial human DNA. Now, with all the war stuff going on, there's been a lot of really crazy stuff going on in the background. If you haven't seen, people are already talking about designer babies, even artificial wombs. They are talking about creating perfect human beings. Well, this piece actually goes into a very interesting kind of dichotomy of, yes, you could make babies and humans that are healthier and that may not get cancer or may live longer or may just be genuinely stronger or smarter than the rest of us, right? They could fix some of the things, the markers that we've seen in DNA, these genetic downfalls. They could basically pluck them out and put, something good in there, like genetics from a very, tall, strong Norwegian Viking, or something, right? You could put the genetics of a world chess champion in your kid. You could put the genetics from Royce Gracie, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu best fighter in the world in it. You could do all these things. Well, I'm sure the military's looking at that too and going, hey, we have an application for this. How about we put genetics in here and make these guys super soldiers? Dex, I mean, they literally could turn people into super soldiers with this. They could start using this for evil too.
Well, yeah, I mean, creating DNA from scratch, not from an existing person, that's, you're creating something that doesn't even exist.
So that part I don't actually get. How are they artificially actually making DNA? That's what I don't understand. So they can create it from scratch, right? How does it...
Yeah, that's what they say. They say building DNA from scratch allows us to test out how DNA really works and test out new theories, because currently we can only really do that by tweaking the DNA that already exists in living systems. So that's the excuse they're giving. I didn't explain necessarily how great detail they go through this, but the whole idea that they're creating this synthetic human DNA, there's going to be who knows what else they're going to do with this. I mean, it's going to be insane, I think.
I mean, they could make Nephilim, they could make aliens. And I bet you there's going to be a whole camp of people that are like, hey, what if we're living in a simulation right now? Or, that we created us, that these aliens that are visiting the planet are actually, the people that created us tens and tens of millions of years ago. And they were created by the version of us it's living right now, and they just recreated the version of their creators, right? I've heard so many just mind-boggling theories about how everything is right now, and to the point where when virtual reality and augmented reality and Neuralink and all of this stuff gets so tied in like the Matrix that you will not be able to distinguish reality from virtual reality. And if you think about stuff like this, they could create anything they want. They could create little green men that are 4 feet tall with giant heads. I mean, it's creepy. What do you guys think about it? Let me know. Do you think it's right? Do you think it's morally wrong for them to be creating human DNA? They're playing God. And then Terry Quinn, thank you for joining the fam. And Margie Slattery, thank you so much for subscribing tonight. I appreciate that. And then Peter Thiel. So when I first saw this, I was like, you got to be kidding. Do you remember 6-7 years ago, Dex, when I said, they were doing all these press conferences on the Mars goal, and by 2029 we're going to be at Mars. And I said, hey, to all of you that believe that there's a different shape to the planet, I said, well, I guess, I'm excited. I said, we'll just have to wait and see. Because, they say we're going to go to Mars and we're all going to be able to travel up to space and to hotels and things. And we will be able to soon say that, we believe it ourselves and we can see it for ourselves. If we don't see it for ourselves, I said, nobody will ever believe it. But I said, watch, they say we're going to Mars, but watch something happens over the years. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, we can't do it. Or they cancel the funding, or the company goes bankrupt. And somehow conveniently, we never actually go and colonize Mars. Again, that would support the theories of many in our audience, right? Dex, do you want to go over what Peter Thiel actually says in this, and essentially says that 2024 was the year that Elon gave up on Mars? I wonder how this plays into the Trump thing and the fights and all of this other stuff.
Yeah, so he says he abandoned the vision of colonizing Mars. This is according to Peter Thiel. Interplanetary expansion has long been an ambition of Musk, Thiel said, but the project's, SpaceX CEO had previously said humans could set foot on Mars by 2028. And even was speaking last month that the colonization of the red planet was essential to ensure the long-term survival of civilization and hopefully unlikely event that something terrible happens on Earth. But Musk's departure from this role in the Trump administration last month and his ensuing fallout with the U.S. president has allowed him to spend more time focusing on SpaceX, his space technology company. However, Musk's interplanetary ambitions suffered a setback last week when one of the starships experienced a catastrophic failure, which we talked about last week. Thiel told the New York Times that Mars was supposed to be a political project. It was building an alternative, and in 2024, Elon came to believe that if you went to Mars, the socialist U.S. government, the woke AI, would follow you to Mars. That was his exact quote. So Musk's change of heart was reportedly inspired by a conversation with the London-based Google DeepMind AI boss, Demis Hassabis, in which the two discussed whether AI or interplanetary travel would be the most important technology advancement in the world. According to the New York Times, Elon went quiet after Habis told him, well, my AI will be able to follow you to Mars. So I guess that's part of the idea, is that he was thinking that
he was going to escape AI,
escape it all. And and that it's not just AI, but everything is going to follow him there. All the problems of Earth are just going to be the problems on Mars.
So doesn't that also admit what he says, that it's not an asteroid hitting Earth, planetary survival. He was literally doing this because of how afraid he was of AI. Because I actually understand, like, the more you learn about AI, the more you actually fear it. Back years and years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago, when he first commented on it wasn't even a podcast. It was an interview that was like a TED Talk, him and a gentleman sitting on a stage. And he talked about how he believed that, he wasn't scared about nukes. He was more scared about AI. And at the time that he said that, it was so, it wasn't before its time. We all knew and, knew that the basics of AI was forming and stuff, but we didn't have access to it. None of us had talked to ChatGPT at that point. None of us realized, like, if once you talk to AI, you understand, like, this is instant. It's it feels like you're talking to a human. It's creepy. All of the AIs are a little bit different. Some of them you can kind of tell the little AI things that pop out, but it is creepy. They instantly can respond to basically anything, and I'm sorry, I think it's scary. But imagine in a country and in a society where we're all going to literally be, introducing this into everything. Once it goes sentient and it takes control over, I think that that's a terrifying thought. But for him to say this kind of seems like a BS excuse, just because they would be able to follow him. But yeah, to give up on Mars, like, that's a big thing for humankind anyways, to go to Mars. Go before. And when does he think that? Does he mean that he needed to have 1 million people there because he thought that this was going to take over and destroy the planet in the next 4 years? Dex, go ahead.
Well, yeah, and the other quote that's in here, he said that Musk had tweeted back in April saying Starship will hopefully depart from Mars by the end of next year. But nevertheless, Steele claimed that Musk no longer sees space as the refuge from Earth he once thought it could be, with the SpaceX boss going so far as to say, there's nowhere to go, there's nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to hide. Well, but his other theory was, and what does he know? If let's devil's advocate here, or let's just go with the what if. What if he truly does know? He knows some higher ups. He knows exactly something. He knows information that we don't. That he created Neuralink so he would be able to be at par with, or be able to fight. He says that this is kind of a weapon against AI. And he decided he wanted to colonize Mars because of his fear of the end of the world. He said that we need to repopulate the world, that we need to have 8 kids or 10 kids, that everybody needs to have start having more kids. Men's sperm counts are going down, that there's actually a drop in younger births, the amount of old people in diapers compared to babies in diapers. In many countries, it's very, very uneven. It's like a teeter-totter that's broken. So, I've always been really fascinated by this whole Mars thing, and everybody is. That's why people follow it every time. That's why people watch every single launch. This is why people were fascinated in what I believe was, a fakery of the launch back when we went to the big floating ball out there, right? But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think that this is a BS excuse, or do you think that he is legitimately kind of given up? It's kind of like prepping, when we talked about how the U.S. government, the fear of most preppers is that, there's going to be a tyrannical rule and that you bug out and they're going to be able to track and trace you and just find you, right? Wolverines type of thing. Well, we covered stories a couple years ago, and this is what I said back then, is that there were satellite systems that had the very beginnings of AI that would essentially be able to tell and look at a whole scenery of an entire jungle of thousands of miles, and if a leaf moved and it believed it was a human moving, or if it was a heat signature or whatever, that it would be able to put the data together and say, there is a person hiding in this spot in the jungle. So I said the same thing. It's like you almost, even if you were going to bug out, if you're going to bug out, if the wrong scenario happens, you can't really get away from it. There's not going to be an escape. I mean, unless you go underground, and even then, who knows what AI will create or even invent in the future. Dex, that's the other thing. Once AI gets to a certain point, can't it start making inventions, and has it made inventions already? Didn't somebody say, didn't we cover something that it actually has invented? Or can it do that yet?
Well, I'm sure it can invent, but it's just putting it into words right now. What it can do is write code, and in some cases, AI can be combined with services where it can launch code, and that's where it gets crazy, because that's when it's not just writing it, but writing it and putting it into production, which then makes something live. So that's all doable today. A lot of times they don't want that to happen. Like, you can't hook up ChatGPT or Grok or any of them to live productions right now, not by default, where it will be writing code and putting it out into production where it actually affects the world.
All right. Well, and by the way, there's a few people in our audience that actually think that Elon watches us. I would ask this, Elon, if you are watching, or if you happen to see this, or watch the replay or something, give us some sort of evidence that you watched, and if we see that, then we'll know you're still actually going to go to Mars, right? Give us some sort of sign, something that's just so weird and out there that people are like, what the heck? That's something that they talked about on the show last night. Do that. I would love to see if that is the truth. I highly, highly doubt it. But Elon, again, are you still going to take people to Mars? Is that a goal after all of this is said and done? Is that still something, or are you just going to, fade away? And then your favorite YouTubers could fade away as well and disappear from the site over shock rule change that blocks some creators. Now, when I first saw this headline, I'm sure almost any YouTuber that saw this goes, whoa, what? But they're raising the age from 13 to 16. And Dex, why do you think they're doing this? Do you think it's because there's so many weird things happening with under 16-year-olds, or like, why are they doing this? Is this part of...
the laws allow them to that they don't have to worry about it as long as they're over 13. That's the COPA law. COPA law is 13 and over. So they're actually doing this on their own. I guess it's a decision they're making, maybe to, I don't know. I don't know exactly why. They didn't say, but they just said, hey, it's starting, and it's starting next month. They said if the child between 13 and 15 has an adult accompanying them live, then they won't be disabled. But if they are, they'll immediately disable the live chat. They may actually lose access to going live. And in the future, they plan to take down those live streams, and the accounts may temporarily lose its ability to live stream going forward. Now, so yeah, they are changing the rule pretty serious for that. I don't know how many young streamers are out there, but I imagine
there's a lot. There's a lot.
I'm sure there is. I just don't watch them, and I don't know how many people in our audience watch them, but it is a shift.
Well, my kids watch certain channels where there's kids live streaming playing video games, or live streaming playing with toys. My son watches one. He's probably 14, 15. He plays with dinosaurs, and sometimes he plays with dinosaurs in a bathtub. I mean, it's he'll do the Mosasaurus eating stuff in the bathtub and stuff. And my son loves it. He literally can name every dinosaur ever. I mean, almost like a savant. So yeah, like there's a lot of creators I think that he watches that are in that age range. But one thing I don't get is this for a societal thing? Do you guys think that this is a society thing where you have 13-year-olds saying, I'm going to drop out of school in 8th grade because I think I'm going to be a YouTuber? Everybody is joining YouTube or TikTok, and everybody believes that they're, going to be a creator. How many of you have actually seen people that probably will never be a creator that, say, oh, I'm going to do this for a living? and they put all of their everything into it, and they don't really kind of question if they should do it. Dex, go ahead.
I wonder how much of it has to do with the live interaction between adults and the children, and maybe they're getting involved in that, because what they didn't say is, they weren't saying you can't create a video. They didn't say you couldn't have a channel. You just said you couldn't have live stream, and the one thing they're going to shut off immediately is the live chat. So I think maybe that's the signal that sort of says, hey, the problem may be the fact that they're seeing issues between adults interacting with children, and they don't want to be in the middle of trying to police that. It's probably causing.
Well, think about grown 40-year-old dudes donating to a 13-year-old and saying, "Oh, I love your content." Like, that's freaking weird. You know what's even weirder is them doing it for a 16-year-old. Now, I know some states have kind of the Romeo, or aren't some states, like, if you're 16, you're old enough to emancipate or something. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But even then, that does make sense. And what if it's not so they can prevent future stuff? What if something actually happened that they're kind of putting under the rug? I don't know. That kind of makes sense too. And then later, if it comes out, or, because they don't want an adpocalypse again, right? If people found out, oh, these creators and this happened all on the platform, then a bunch of advertisers will go, oh, Coca-Cola, I don't want to advertise on this platform. They encouraged and, put this out there, or facilitated in this. So I wonder if they're avoiding a thing, and they're doing this now. Later on, they'll go, well, right when we learned of it, we fixed all of this, and we upped the age limit. It's a question that I have, and again, who knows? Maybe there's a parent out there that caught something, and they had a settlement, and they're staying quiet. Now, before we move on, if you don't have antibiotics, this is a really, really big recommendation. If you are just getting started with PrEP, I would highly recommend getting food and water first. But if you get a tiny cut, if there's a situation where you can't go to the hospital, or the roads are out, or the power's down, and even the backup generators are fried by an EMP or any event, it could be a storm, a tornado, or earthquake, then you definitely should have antibiotics on hand. Antibiotics could be the difference between a cut on your toe and a funeral, right? We know, I still don't know, but I've heard rumors that Bob Marley died playing soccer and got a cut on his toe, and it ended up getting infected. So there's things like that. But again, this is a really easy service. You go to marfooglenews.com/Jase. You can do a quick telehealth appointment by your phone, your tablet, or your computer from the comfort of your couch, and get a kit of all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics in a kit that is discreetly packaged right to your door. You can also add things in, like, again, albuterol and other things. Again, there's lots of stuff on that add-on list, so, make sure to check it. If you're going to do it, might as well look if there's something else you might need. If you have an asthmatic in the family, might be something you want in that emergency kit. All right, marfooglenews.com/Jase, Jase, and thank you guys for helping not only get yourself prepped up, but helping support independent media. And then we have the president revealing that he is willing to bomb Iran again, and warns Ayatollah he is close to an ugly death. Now, this whole thing here, as far as, taking out the leader, this was, these were some big words. And here's what I think. I think that they are doing a regime change right now. I think the late son Shah, the son of the late Shah, I think that he is getting put into place. Dex, have you seen some of the chatter that's out there about the U.S. government in Iran, or the military in Iran, Iran's military? Have you heard some of that chatter?
About Iran military searching for the agents that are in there?
No. So check this out. There's a couple videos going around, and I don't think we could play it, because I think that those people might get even taken off the internet if it is fake or if it's real. But they're suggesting that the claim by certain people out there is that they found out from somebody they know that is in the know, that essentially said that the Iranian military is working directly with the U.S. government, and that they have already essentially taken control of Iran, and it's all under, wraps right now. Now, in 11 days, again, you know what's so funny, Dex? In 11 days, they took over Syria. In 12 days, this ended. Is it about 11 or 12 days that they can do a regime change on a big country? I'm just starting to wonder. They call it the 12-day war. He was so confident. And the gentleman said, hey, that's probably why the president was so angry at Netanyahu, because essentially, he ended up firing, and he goes, hey, guy, we already have it all under control. Stop firing. It's our people over there. We've got it taken care of.
Well, they certainly are starting to paint a picture of Khamenei being, in a weakened state. I read an article today that was pretty much the same thing we had covered yesterday about him coming out and saying that he had won the battle and
he looks like an idiot.
But they spun that article as in, look at how weak he is. Look at how he's saying these things and it's not true, and he's having to try to save face because he's losing his ground. He's losing his footing with the population there. At least that's the way the article was sort of spun when they were saying that same thing we'd already covered. But so I kind of, it's interesting to see that, those little, seeds are being planted out there in the media and in the world, so to speak, about this.
Well, think about this too. The internet was knocked out the whole time. We don't even know if it's back on right now. Think about that. And he says his country was decimated. His 3 evil nuclear sites were obliterated, and I knew exactly where he was sheltered, and would not let Israel or the U.S. Armed Forces, by far the greatest and most powerful in the world — I love how he has to throw that in there — terminate his life. I saved him from a very ugly and ignominious death. So it really makes you wonder if they did another Syria to this. In Syria, in 11 days, they took over that country, and that is totally a U.S. op. They put that guy in. That's why they took him off the most wanted list. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, this to me, you have to read between the lines, and I think that it's pretty obvious that this is some sort of op. I think they've already done regime change. Iran has been on that list of regime change for a very long time. And if they put in a puppet like the Shah's son, late Shah's son, then boom, they've got control over that. And that would be a big hit to Iran, or to Russia, to China. And maybe that's why, in response to that, they're taking 110,000 soldiers and they're going right into Kiev. This all could be something that, you look at the face value of it, but you see the actions, and the actions don't, match the reactions. Do you guys think I'm crazy? Again, let me know. Do you think is that stupid? And then Hope Between the Dreams, thank you for hitting 7 months. Says, woohoo, 7 months. Hey, Hope Between the Dreams, I hope that you are still creating. I actually thought all of your content was great. So I hope you are still creating. I haven't had a chance to look. And then Trump, again, with this whole thing happening, it really makes you wonder if there is something that's going to come out very shortly. And all of a sudden, we're going to have an Iran that has, women walking around without hijabs. And hey, who knows? Maybe they'll be looking for new jobs. So we'll see. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from all of you. Make sure to comment. Make sure to hit the notification bell and set it to all, because you won't get the videos if you don't. Make sure to go over to our website. You can find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document over there. And thank you, Dex. I appreciate your service today. Thank you for everything.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, top supporter tonight, Rochelle Cooley. Thank you. Callie. Thank you, Milosh Schaefer. Thank you so much, everybody that supported the show today. Thank you, Terry Quinn, for joining the Foogle fam. And again, thank your mods by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends. That is over there as well. Make sure to go check out Chance's new book over on Amazon. Again, thank you guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.